Okay, so get ready, because today we're really going to dive deep into some seriously thought-provoking stuff
Yeah,
with this book, Spiritual Reflections by Pedro Elias. Now,
absolutely.
this isn't like your typical self-help book, Elias. He kind of throws the whole rule book out the window,
Hmm.
and he really wants you to question everything, like really look inward and find your own unique path.
Yeah,
It's more about like true inner freedom, not just
you're
some
right.
feel-good, platitudes and stuff.
Yeah, what's really cool about Elias is he challenges us to look at ourselves and forget about needing validation from others or outside of ourselves.
Yeah.
Like forget about those cookie cutter spiritual paths, those predefined things.
Right.
He wants you to uncover what really resonates with you on your own terms.
Yeah. So let's talk about one of the big ideas from the book. Okay.
Duality,
Mm-hmm.
this whole right versus wrong, good versus bad thing,
Yeah,
Elias flips the script.
he does.
He says, what if instead of seeing duality as this like dividing line,
Right.
we saw it as a stepping stone to like grow and evolve as people?
Yeah, and he illustrates this with a really powerful story about this woman who is desperately searching for the right spiritual path.
Hmm.
She tries all the things, follows all the gurus, and nothing really clicks for her.
Yeah.
It's only when she lets go of the need to even have a path that things start to make sense. It's
Wow.
like she's looking for an answer outside herself when the answer was letting go of the search all along.
That's so true. I feel like we do that all the time, right?
Yeah.
We're always trying to find the right answer, the right way to be spiritual,
Mm-hmm.
instead of just like being exactly. And that's where his idea of the law of abundance comes in.
Okay.
Because he says, I think we've gotten the law of attraction all wrong.
Oh, really? How
It's
so?
not about manifesting this perfect life full of comfort and ease all the time, but it's about surrendering to the entire journey.
The highs and the lows.
All of it, the good, the bad, the ugly, everything.
Yeah.
He even uses the example of Jesus accepting everyone, even those who criticized him.
Yeah. He embraced everyone.
Elias is saying that true abundance includes those messy parts of life, the uncomfortable bits that force us to grow.
Yeah.
It's about being open to it all, not just the things that make us feel good.
That's a good point.
It makes you wonder, are we really open to abundance in all its forms? Or are we limiting ourselves by only focusing on a narrow definition of what good should look like?
Yeah, that's such a powerful question. And, another thing Elias talks about is the ego. And he has a very interesting take on it.
He does.
He doesn't see it as the enemy like some spiritual teachings do.
Right.
He says it's an essential part of our journey. It's not something to be eradicated.
It's something to be worked with, not against.
Worked with, not against.
He makes this awesome analogy of the ego being like clay.
Okay.
You know how a potter molds and refines the clay?
Yeah.
Our experiences, particularly the tough ones, are like the potter's hands, shaping and refining our ego.
Interesting.
It's through those experiences that we grow.
He's saying when we resist, that's when we suffer.
Exactly. We suffer when we fight the very thing that's trying to help us evolve.
Yeah.
But if we can shift our perspective a little bit and see our ego as something to be shaped and molded and worked with, it totally changes how we approach challenges.
Yeah.
Those difficult experiences become incredible opportunities for transformation and growth.
He calls it deep alchemy, right?
Yes, deep alchemy.
Tell me more about that.
It's like taking something completely ordinary and turning it into something extraordinary.
Okay.
He uses the example of Jesus on the cross, but not focusing on the suffering aspect, but focusing on his acceptance of the experience.
Okay.
That willingness to experience the pain without resisting it. That's where the alchemy happens.
Wow. So it's about experiencing the full spectrum of life, both the good and the bad, and trusting that it's all part of some larger process.
Exactly. It's about trusting the process. And Elias thinks one of the keys to unlocking this deep alchemy is through silence.
Silence.
He's not just talking about the absence of noise, but like a deeper inner stillness that allows us to connect with our inner wisdom.
So creating that space within ourselves for real transformation to happen.
Yes, and it doesn't need to be some complicated practice.
Oh, good.
Elias wants us to find these little pockets of quiet in our everyday lives,
Okay.
whether it's a walk in nature or just being present while you're doing the dishes.
Great. Being present in the moment.
Exactly.
So just finding those moments of stillness amidst all the chaos of our lives.
Because it's from that place of stillness that we can begin to hear our own inner voice more clearly.
That makes a lot of sense.
Elias believes that each of us have this unique initiatic path, this journey of self-discovery that unfolds in its own way.
And he has this great analogy to illustrate this, right?
Yeah.
Something about a pilgrim and stones.
Yeah, imagine this pilgrim who was given a task that seems completely meaningless, gathering stones. But there's a deeper meaning. This seemingly pointless task contributes to something much bigger, the creation of this beautiful temple.
Wow, I love
So
that.
it's like our lives are the temple, and all those seemingly insignificant moments are the stones.
Each experience, each challenge contributes to something bigger.
Yes. It's about trusting the journey, even if we don't understand where it's taking us.
Wow.
Trusting that it's all unfolding as it should.
I love that. It's like they say, right, the journey is the destination.
Yeah.
And Elias seems to really stress that we need to trust in how our lives unfold, even when it seems like kind of a mess.
And he has some really interesting thoughts about how we navigate that journey, like when it comes to spiritual groups.
Okay, how so?
He thinks that like relying too much on a guru or a group can actually hold back our own personal growth.
Interesting.
It's like we become dependent on someone else for our spiritual understanding
Right.
instead of finding that wisdom within ourselves.
Yeah, totally. We
Yeah.
can fall into that trap of thinking someone else have all the answers.
Exactly. And he even uses this term egregore.
Egregore.
It describes how that group dynamic can create a kind of energy field.
Oh, wow.
And instead of connecting with a higher purpose, these groups can get stuck in their own little bubble.
So it's like the group's energy is more about keeping itself going than about like actual spiritual growth.
Yeah. And Elias thinks there's a much better way, which he calls group context.
Group context, what's that?
So instead of being bound by a leader or a strict set of beliefs,
Okay.
imagine people coming together because they share a purpose,
I like that.
a common desire to serve something bigger than themselves.
So it's less about this is what we believe and more about this is what we're here to do together.
Exactly.
Yes.
It's about realizing that everyone has unique gifts.
Right.
And when we come together with a shared intention, without all the hierarchy and dogma, it creates this awesome energy for growth and service.
It's like we're all individual instruments coming together to play a symphony,
Yes.
each one important.
Exactly. And Elias connects this to his idea of service, which is fascinating.
Okay, how so?
He goes beyond that traditional idea of, helping others
Yeah.
and talks about it more as like radiating your inner light.
Radiating your inner light.
Right.
What does that look like practically?
It means really living your truth,
Okay.
being your most authentic self so fully that it inspires those around you.
Okay.
It's not about obligation or trying to fix people.
Right.
It's about being a beacon of light that naturally shows the way for others.
I love that it takes the pressure off needing to have it all figured out.
Exactly.
It's more about focusing on our own internal state.
And it makes service something we do all the time,
Okay.
not just every now and then.
Yeah,
Every interaction, every choice becomes a chance to let your light shine.
that's beautiful.
Elias also challenges the usual ideas about channeling.
Really? How so?
He encourages people to move away from looking for messages from outside themselves
Oh,
and instead tune in to what he calls intuitive synchronization.
intuitive synchronization. What is that?
It's about tapping into your own inner wisdom, your higher self,
Okay.
as the main source of guidance.
So we all have that within us.
Elias believes we all have this amazing ability to connect with this deep well of wisdom inside us. But we get distracted looking for answers outside.
So instead of asking, what would my spirit guide tell me? It's more like, what does my intuition say?
Exactly. You're not separate from your higher self, from that source of wisdom. It's always there for you.
We just have to learn to listen.
It's like we have our own internal compass,
Yes.
but we've forgotten how to use it because we rely so much on external guidance.
Right. All those GPS systems.
Exactly. Intuitive synchronization is about rediscovering that inner compass,
Okay.
learning to trust it and letting it guide you on your unique path.
I like that it's very empowering.
It is. It puts you back in the driver's seat.
Back in the driver's seat. Yeah. And Elias has some really intriguing thoughts about healing.
Oh, yeah.
He seems to differentiate between healing on a physical or emotional level and what he calls true healing. He believes true healing goes beyond just fixing the symptoms.
Okay.
It's about surrendering to something bigger than us.
So, like surrendering to divine will.
Yes, and trusting that whatever happens is for our highest good.
It's like letting go of control and allowing ourselves to be guided by a force greater than ourselves.
Exactly. He tells this incredible story about a dog that wouldn't stop barking.
Oh, no.
People tried everything to get it to be quiet.
Nothing worked.
Nothing worked.
Oh, those poor people.
Until finally someone just surrendered the situation to a higher power without needing a specific outcome. and the dog finally calmed down.
Wow. So it was the surrender that did it.
It's a powerful example of how surrender can be more powerful than force when it comes to healing.
That's incredible. But it takes a lot of faith, doesn't it?
And Elias would say that faith isn't about blind belief. Right.
It's about cultivating this deep inner knowing that we are supported and guided and loved unconditionally.
Even when life feels crazy.
Especially when life feels crazy.
Yeah, that's a lot easier said than done, right?
It is. A big ask.
Trusting something you can't even see or fully wrap your head around?
He gets that it's not easy, but he says it doesn't mean throwing logic out the window.
Okay.
It's more about realizing there's a much bigger picture.
Okay.
Something we can't always grasp with our limited human perspective.
So how do we even begin to cultivate that kind of trust, especially when life gets tough?
Elias believes one powerful way is through contemplation.
Contemplation.
Now, before you go picturing some mountaintop retreat,
Right.
he's not talking about complicated meditation or anything like that.
He means bringing your full attention to, right now, to this present moment,
Okay, no matter where you are.
no matter what you're doing.
So even if I'm stuck in traffic,
Even then.
instead of getting all stressed out, I could practice contemplation
Yeah,
by just like noticing things around me.
exactly.
Like the feeling of the steering wheel in my hands or the sound of the rain on the windshield.
That's it. Interesting.
It's about shifting from judgment and resistance to a place of openness and curiosity.
Okay.
Instead of seeing the world as something happening to you,
Right.
you start to see yourself as part of it all.
Part of this interconnected web.
Exactly.
It's like that saying, right? Everywhere you go, there you are.
Yes.
It's about being present in every single moment.
And Elias says as we practice this, we start to see everything differently. It's like switching from a two-dimensional view where everything seems separate
Okay.
to a three-dimensional perspective where you see the underlying unity of it all.
So instead of feeling disconnected and alone, you start to feel a sense of belonging.
Yes, like you're part of something much greater than yourself.
And from that place of connection, it becomes a little easier to trust that even when things are hard, you're not alone.
You are held and supported and guided.
Wow.
Elias believes that's where we find our true power,
Not through force or control.
but through surrender acceptance.
Wow, surrender, acceptance, trusting the journey. These are some really powerful ideas.
They are.
What kind of story would unfold if we could actually live like that?
That is the question Elias leaves us with.
What do you mean?
He wants us to gather up all the stories we tell ourselves.
The doubts, the fears.
All of it. And imagine burning them in a huge bonfire.
Wow.
And then he says, let the wind write a new story.
I love that.
A story free from those old patterns and limitations.
It's like we're given this clean slate a chance to start fresh.
Exactly. It's about recognizing that the past doesn't define us.
We can choose a new path.
A path of love and joy and fulfillment.
And that all starts with surrender and trust.
And embracing the unknown.
What a powerful way to wrap up spiritual reflections.
It really makes you think.
Elias really challenges us to question our beliefs and explore different ways of seeing things.
And ultimately to create our own unique spiritual journey.
If any of this resonated with you, go check out Spiritual Reflections.
It's a great read.
It might be just what you need to start a new chapter in your life.
Absolutely.
Thanks for joining us on this incredible journey.